think Arjuna we have not read for a long time. Arjuna, yeah.
Sure, brother.
Okay.
But but with the extension of our knowledge, we discover what the spirit.
Yeah. Everyone has got the text?
Yes.
Shiva,
Yes.
page 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
5.
Yes.
Okay. So
I'm
Arjuna,
audible, na, Rangadhar?
pardon?
I'm audible, clear, na?
Yes, yes, very clear, very clear.
Okay.
No problem.
But with the extension of our knowledge, we discover what the spirit or oversoul is. It is ultimately our own highest, deepest, vastest self. It is apparent on its submits or by reflection in ourselves as Sachidanand, creating us and the world by the power of his divine knowledge, will, spiritual, supramental, truth conscious, infinite. That is the real being, Lord and Creator, who, as the cosmic self, veiled in mind and life and matter, has descended into that which we call the inconscient and constitutes and directs its subconscient existence by his supramental will and knowledge, has ascended out of the inconscient and dwells in the inner being, constituting and directing its subliminal existence by the same will and knowledge, has cast up out of the subliminal our surface existence and dwells secretly in it, overseeing with the same supreme light and mastery its stumbling and groping movements. If the subliminal and subconscient may be compared to a sea which throws up the waves of a surface mental existence, the superconscious may be compared to an ether which constitutes, contains, overroofs, inhabits, and determines the movements of the sea and its waves. It is there in this higher ether that we are inherently and intrinsically conscious of ourself and spirit, not as here below by a reflection in silent mind or by acquisition of the knowledge of a hidden being within us. It is through that ether of superconscience, that we can pass to a supreme status, knowledge, experience. Of this superconscient existence, through which we can arrive at the highest status of a real, a supreme self, we are normally even more ignorant than of the rest of our being. Yet, is it into the knowledge of it that our being emerging out of the involution in inconscience is struggling to evolve. This limitation to our surface existence, this unconsciousness of our highest as of our inmost self, is our first, our capital ignorance.
Okay. So quite a big para. So what we'll do, we actually now examining the boundaries of the ignorance is the title of the chapter. So where is the ignorance and where is the knowledge? So he is examining, first he examined the subconscious, then he examined the inconscious, then he examined the intraconscious, and now he is examining the superconscious. Okay. So one by one, all the things are being covered like that. Okay. So we'll do one thing. We'll have an overall view of it by the summary, and then after that we'll go each sentence. Okay. So this, what he's saying here, okay. This superconscious is our own supreme spirit. Okay. So this is important. It is not that God is something separate from us. He is actually our own highest condition and state and nature. Okay? The superconscious is our own supreme spirit. One may call it God, spirit, oversoul. This oversoul is experienced on the summits of our being, okay, or by reflection on our lower planes of consciousness. So, in the lower planes, you can get by reflection, but at the higher level. If you think of yourself again as a big building, okay, so you are on the ground floor, but if you want to go to the 7th floor, which is the superconscious, it is your own building. and it's at the height. And when you are at the 7th floor, you have a wonderful view of everything around you. And what is around you? The world. So you get knowledge at the highest level. You come to know things which you cannot know at your ground level. Okay, so that's what he's saying. One may call it God, spirit, oversoul. This oversoul is experienced on the summits of our being or by reflection on our lower planes of consciousness. Reflection, because we know that when you go to level 2, the mind becomes silent and like a lake, waters in the lake, absolutely no movement at all, clear reflection of the trees all around and the sky. Okay, so that's the reflection. That is the experience of the Brahman consciousness by reflection. So, lower planes of consciousness. It is seen thus as the Satchidananda, okay, Satchit Ananda, which is knowledge, will, truth conscious, infinite. When he uses the word truth conscious, we know he's speaking about the supermind. When he speaks of gnosis, Gnosis, we know that he is talking about the supermind. Okay? These are the words he uses for supermind. So, and infinite. Then he says, it is this Lord who is a creator, who, having veiled himself, has descended into the inconscient, but directs all its operations consciously, though under a cover of seeming inconscience. He is very much there in the inconscience, he is very much there in matter also, and he is directing it from behind the scene. Okay, it's like the artist who has got his paintings in an exhibition hall, but he is not there. What he has painted is available in the physical world. You see the physical world and the paintings, but you don't see the artist. So if you want to see the artist, you have to go to the 7th floor. Then you see the artist. Okay. Or like a film director. When you are seeing a film, you don't see who has directed the film. He is there in the background and he has done the whole thing. You have seen the film, but you are not seeing the director. Okay. Exactly in the same. Though under the cover of seeming inconscience. Seeming because he is really there but hidden. It is this superconscious who, having descended into the nether regions, in the dark regions, nether regions, lower regions, rises up into the subliminal and throws the superficial outer nature of body mind life. Throw it away. Okay? This is the process of yoga. You throw away your body mind life to who is the you? Your soul. Your soul releases itself from the hold of body mind life and rises into the superconscious. And the superconscious can start even at level 2. It goes on to level 3 and even beyond. There's something beyond, but nobody has gone beyond level 3. So we don't know what is there. Maybe in years to come, we'll come to know. Because when man will have gone to that level, then he will know about it. But at present, not possible. If you go to level 4, you can't come back to give a report. Okay? So we don't, nothing is known about it. That's why it's called a deep sleep, sushupti. Okay? Under a cover, seeming inconscious. It is the superconscious who, having descended into the nether regions, rises up into the subliminal and throws the superficial outer nature of body mind life, throws it away. And all this is done by his knowledge will. Okay? Knowledge will, Chit Shakti. And it is hyphenated. That means they are involved in each other. Consciousness has got also power in it, and power at any level also has got consciousness in it, but in different degrees. At lower level, power contains consciousness in a very, very small quantity. At the higher levels, consciousness contains power in a small level. That's why it is what is it called? Immutable. There is no movement there. So, if we compare the subconscious and the subliminal to a sea and its waves, then the superconscious is the ether, the sky, which contains over roofs, okay, like a roof, inhabits and determines all the movements of the sea and the waves. Now, this is a very interesting image that Srivati is giving, because even in the physical world, the sea's movements are determined by the temperature and the pressure, atmospheric pressure. When the heat of the sun overheats the water, there is a rising of air and it creates a sort of a vacuum. And then these storms come. So it is, what he's saying is absolutely true. The sky is controlling the sea. Okay? And even in the spiritual world also, it is the roof is a superconscious that controls the level 2 and level 1. It is this ether. Ether is the sky. That which is featureless and the subtlest of matter. It is this ether that we can experience fully and directly as our real spirit. Okay? Not something temporary, it is permanent. And because our body mind life is all temporary. What is it called? Temporary. Temporary. Okay. Yeah, it is temporary. Okay, it remains and goes out. But the real spirit is permanent and not as a reflection in our lower spiritual planes. Though we are normally fully ignorant of it, it is that superconscious, the spirit, God, towards which our being is evolving and trying to reach. This is our first and capital ignorance. Original ignorance, number one. This is our, we don't know the divine. Okay, that's, here's got a chapter, the 7 ignorances. So this is the first one, that we don't know the divine. That's our ignorance, biggest ignorance. Okay. There are other ignorances. We don't know ourselves. We don't know from where we have come. We don't remember our origin. We don't remember our past lives. We don't know our constitution. He has got 7 ignorances. Temporal ignorance, psychological ignorance, constitutional ignorance, and things like that. Okay, so that will come to later on in the later chapter. So this is what he's saying about our first original ignorance is not knowing God. Okay? So now we go to each sentence and see whether it's clear. Now, but with the extension of our knowledge. When can we get extension of our knowledge? When you rise out of your body-mind life and get rid of your ego, attachment and desire. Then you can get knowledge. But even that knowledge is not complete. The complete knowledge comes only at level 3, which is the supermind. Okay? Level 2 in the spiritual planes of consciousness is wonderful, absolutely superb, far different from our level 1 of ignorance. But it is not complete. Each sentence I am reading. But with the extension of our knowledge, we discover what the spirit or oversoul is. It is ultimately our own highest, deepest, vastest self. It is apparent on its summits or by reflection in ourselves as Satchidananda, creating us and the world by the power of his divine knowledge will. Knowledge will, Chit Shakti. Okay? Knowledge will. Consciousness force. Very often he uses the word knowledge will, because these are the words used also in the Western. Those who have experienced the Brahmic consciousness in the West, their philosophy, they call it will. They don't say force. But we use the word Shakti. Okay? Knowledge will. Consciousness force. Spiritual. Supramental. Truth conscious. Infinite. The word truth conscious, as I said, is very clearly referring to level 3, okay? Not level 2. That is the real being, Lord and Creator. He is the one who creates, okay? Who, as the cosmic self, revealed in mind and life and matter, has descended into that which we call the inconscient and constitutes and directs its subconscious existence by his supramental will and knowledge has ascended out of the inconscient and dwells in the inner being, constituting and directing its subliminal existence by the same will and knowledge, has cast up out of the subliminal our surface existence and dwells secretly in it, overseeing with the same supreme light and mastery its stumbling and groping movements. So he is actually using different words, but he's saying that the divine has plunged himself into the inconscient. He is there but hidden, and from there he is controlling everything. Okay. This is an idea which he has given very often in many other places also. The consciousness is there in nature everywhere. Okay. Whenever you see, for instance, he has given many, many examples. When we see everything seems to be working with a certain purpose, and purpose and intention is a sign of consciousness. When a bird flies down to avoid the cold, it is intentional, but it is not it is not mental consciousness. It is consciousness at a very, very lower level. It's instinct. It's a vital consciousness that does it. The spider, which makes also a web, it's intention. Suddenly, why should it start making a spider, a web? Because it needs food. So there's an intention. So this is what Shen is saying, that everywhere you see intention, there is consciousness. Okay. The movement of the tree, for instance, when it is going upwards to light, okay, to get light, it needs, that's a food for the plant, and also it sends its roots down to seek for water, and the seeking is real. Okay, so this is the intention. So when you see intention, it's a sign of the consciousness. So that's what he's saying, that he is there very much, even in the that which seems to be absolutely without consciousness. In a stone, he is there, and everything has got a purpose. Okay. This is the real being, Lord and Creator, who, as a cosmic self, veiled in mind and life and matter. So he is there. There is a cosmic self also. Okay? The cosmic self is the, what we call the Brahmic consciousness. It is there, but it is below. It is veiled in mind, life, and matter. There are three veils. Matter is the first veil. Even life is the first veil. Then mind. Now, if you go out above mind, then you are not veiled anymore, but you get only a reflection, not the full experience of God. Okay. So that real being has descended into that which we call inconscient and constitutes and directs its subconscious existence. He is guiding everything from behind the veil. Okay. By his supramental will and knowledge, has ascended out of the inconscient and dwells in the inner being. Inner being is the subliminal. Huh? So, constituting and directing its subliminal existence by the same will and knowledge. In other words, what he's saying is that the divine is there at the highest level in all its glory and purity. But he has also put himself down into the inconscient, but he is hiding and working from behind the veil. Then he rises, and in the subliminal also he is there, and in the superconscious also he is there in all different degrees. The higher you go, the more he is unveiling himself. At the highest level, superconscious, totally unveiled. You see the divine in all his aspects. Okay? That's what he's saying. And directing its subliminal existence by the same will and knowledge has cast up out of the subliminal our surface existence. What is our surface existence? Very clearly, body, mind, and life. So you have escaped. Your soul has escaped, which is your consciousness. And who is your consciousness? The divine. Okay. So that's why he's speaking in very general terms here. But you see, this what he's saying here applies to the individual also. Okay. Our surface existence and dwells secretly in it, overseeing with the same supreme light and mastery its stumbling and groping movements. Now tell me, it's very, very clear. This whole sentence, what does it mean? One word I'll give you. Okay. Dwells secretly, overseeing. Overseeing is the supervisor who is supervising. He is only watching. Okay, he is watching. So is the witness self that he is talking about. Overseeing with the same supreme light and mastery, its stumbling and groping movements. Where are the stumbling and groping movements? In level 1, the ignorance of the body-mind life. That's its stumbling and groping movements. He is watching from above. Okay? And an individual, when he goes up into the second level, he is also actually watching, and that's why he is a witness self. Self, Brahmic consciousness, Atman, okay? People, the others call it Nirvana. Okay, so it's the same thing. Experience of the immutable, featureless being. If the subliminal, I'm reading the next sentence. If the subliminal and subconscious may be compared to the sea, which throws up the waves of our surface mental existence. Note the word waves, huh? There is movement. In the surface, there is movement. In the level 2 and level 3, there is no movement. Okay, they only exist. Okay. So, but the sea in the level 1, body, mind, and life, or matter, life, and mind plane, there are waves, there is movement. Mental existence, okay. The superconscious may be compared to an ether, which constitutes, contains, overroofs, inhabits, and determines. Now, all these seem to be opposites almost. First of all, it is containing, it constitutes, it's the same substance. At the highest level, the ether, which is the subtlest of substance, is really the substance at the middle level and at the lower level. Okay, it's the same. It contains, but overroofs also. How can it contain an overroof? That's a mystery of the divine. Okay, he is there everywhere, but he is also there as a roof. So, inhabits and determines the movement of the sea and its waves. So it is the level 2 which controls everything in the level 1. That we know because it is nature. Nature is level 2. Okay. The witness consciousness. That is actually doing the work. They are not doing anything. So you can see a reflection of all these ideas, it becomes clear. It is there in this higher ether that we are inherently and intrinsically conscious of our self and spirit, not here below, not as here below, by reflection in silent mind or by acquisition of the knowledge of a hidden being within us. So, at the level 1, we are not conscious at all of God. But when we go to level 2, we go out of our body-mind life, become by liberation, then you see the divine by reflection. But even that reflection is fantastic. It is so satisfying. That which you did not see earlier, now you are seeing. Okay. Then you go to level 3, no more reflection. You see God in person, you meet him. He is personal and impersonal at the same time. Okay. Because in the level 2 of the spiritual planes of consciousness, it is often the impersonal aspect of the divine. You can have a personal aspect of the divine also, but not complete. Partial expression you can have of the experience of the divine in level 2. By reflection in silent mind or by acquisition of the knowledge of a hidden being within us. Which is the hidden being within us? The psyche. So he is saying that you can get reflection is possible in 2 ways. Either you go to the silent mind, which is level 2, or you go into yourself. Of the knowledge of a hidden being within us. We come to know about the hidden being, the psychic being within us, which is in the intraconscious. And that is above, superconscious. One is a vertical climb and one is a going deep into yourself, horizontal movement. It is through it, through that ether of superconscious, that we can pass to a supreme status, knowledge, experience. Now note that supreme status. It's a plane of consciousness which you can attain to. It's a real world. Okay? It's not something abstract. It's a real world. State. It's a state. It's a world. And there you get knowledge and also experience of the divine. Of this superconscious existence, through which we can arrive at the highest status of our real, our supreme self, we are normally even more ignorant than of the rest of the being. Yet, is it into the knowledge of it that our being, emerging out of the involutionary conscience, is struggling to evolve. This limitation to our surface existence, this unconsciousness of our highest as of our inmost self, is our capital ignorance. We don't know God, and that's the ignorance, capital ignorance. Ignorance number one. This limitation to our surface existence, identification with body mind life. This unconsciousness of our highest as of our inmost self. We know the self, nor do we know the psychic being. Inmost self is the psychic being. Highest is the self. Inmost self, psychic being. Is our capital ignorance. Yeah. So 825. We can read the next paragraph. We may even be able to discuss it. Who has a text? Yes.
I have a question about the superconscious. How are they different from supermind?
How is what different from what, Sangeet?
The superconscious, superconscious and supermind.
Oh, acha. So here these are words which he uses when he says superconscious. In some context, it can mean anything above the body mind life. Okay, but when he uses the word gnosis, and the superconscious includes the supermind, but it includes also the higher mind, the elephant mind. It's a question of language.
Okay.
When he wants to say supermind, he can use the word superconscious in a particular way, but it to be more precise, he uses the word truth consciousness and also gnosis, Gnosis. The supermind is at the higher level of the superconscious. But the superconscious includes also the above the Satchidananda also. The superconscious is in a very flexible word. It does not, it usually refers to everything above the mind. Okay? It depends on the context. We have to see very carefully in the context.
Okay, thank you, Rangada.
It's like humanity is a very vague word, includes all human beings. So superconscious also includes higher mind, elephant mind, intuitive mind, overmind and supermind, and even the Satchidananda, above the supermind also. That's it.
No, because there is a word super. Because of the word super, I thought supermind I think superconscious is a supermind because they share the term super.
Okay, be very careful. The supermind is not the highest plane of consciousness. It is the highest at present in our ignorance. But there are things which is above the supermind also. In fact, the supermind is the link word. It links us to the supreme, the highest. Okay? It's a link word. It is the supermind that is the creator. So when he uses the word creator also, he is talking of the supermind. Because above the supermind, there is no creation. There is absolute static condition. Okay? It is supermind with its triple status of supermind that it creates. It has got the possibility of static condition. It has got the possibility also of movement. That is why it is necessary to include that. Because if the supermind is not there and only the higher and the lower are there, then the higher is always static. Always static. So it can never become the movement. And the world is always movement. So it can never become the static. So you need a supermind in the middle, which has got the capacity of both. It's a transition point. This is his philosophy. Huh? He has mentioned this somewhere else in another chapter. I think we have read it also. Okay? So,
okay, thank you.
Okay, clear? Okay. So now
yes, clear.
we can read the next one. we exist superficially. By becoming,
Shall I read?
yeah, read.
We exist superficially by becoming in time. But here again, out of that becoming in time, the surface mind, which we call ourselves, is ignorant of all the long past and the long future, aware only of the little life which it remembers and not of all even of that. For much of it is lost to its observation, much to its memory. We readily believe, for the simple and compelling but insufficient reason that we do not remember, have not perceived, are not informed of anything else, that we came into existence first by our physical birth into this life and shall cease to exist by the death of this body and the cessation of this brief physical activity. But while this is true of our physical mentality and physical vitality, our corporeal shield, for they have been constituted at our birth and are dissolved by death, it is not true of our real becoming in time. For our real self in the cosmos is the superconscient which becomes the subliminal self and throws up this apparent surface self to act out of the brief and limited part assigned to it between birth and death as a present living and conscious self formation of the being in the stuff of a world of inconscient nature. The true being which we are no more dies by the cessation of one life than the actor ceases to exist when he has finished one of his parts, or the poet when he has poured out something of himself in one of his poems. Our moral responsibility, personality is only such a role or such a creative self-expression. Whether or no we accept the theory of many births of the same soul or psychic being in various human bodies upon this earth, certain it is that our becoming in time goes far back into the past and continues far on into the future. For neither the superconscient nor the subliminal can be limited by a few moments of time. The one is eternal, and time is only one of its moods. To the other, to the subliminal, it is an infinite field of various experience, and the very existence of being presupposed all the past of its own and equally all the future. Yet, of this past, which alone explains our present being, our mind knows, if knowledge it can be called, only this actual physical existence and its memories of the future, which alone explains the constant trend of our becoming. It knows nothing. So fixed are we in the experience of our ignorance that we even insist that the one can be known only by its vestiges and the other cannot be known because the future is not yet and the past is no longer in existence. Yet are they both here in us, the past involved and active, the future ready to evolve in continuity of the secret spirit. This is another limiting and frustrating ignorance.
So one by one, he is listing all the ignorances. Okay, so this is the next one. What we'll do here is quite a big para. We'll do the overall overview we'll have by the summary, and then tomorrow we will go sentence by sentence through this one because already 8:33, so we don't have much. 6-7 minutes we have. So I am reading the summary in much simpler words. With our body, life, and mind, we exist in time. When you go to level 2, there is no time there. You are in an immutable condition. Immutable. Time means movement, okay? Because there is a sequence of things. But when there is no time, there is no movement, okay? You are static. So, with our body, life, mind, we exist in time. This is our surface nature. Some also use the word outer nature. There is an inner nature and outer nature. So it's the same. Surface nature is the outer nature, body, life, and mind. But our mind is totally ignorant of the past and the long future that has yet to come. We are aware only of the present life, okay? And that too very scantily. Okay? And usually very interesting. We don't know because our memory fails and also our observation is not good enough. Okay, that's why. These two things are there. So we know very little about present life. We feel that our entire life began with the birth of body and will end with the death of the body. This is the normal idea. This may be true of the physical being, but certainly not of the true soul beyond time. The true soul is not subject to time and space. Our true self is the superconscient above, which creates the subliminal and which in turn throws out the body-mind life out of the outer nature. So downwards, there is the superconscient creates the level 3 creates level 2 and level 2 creates a level 1. Okay, it's a downward movement. Throws out the body-mind in our outer nature. It is the surface being that acts out its life in time between birth and death. Because there are a series of birth and then death. These are each life that you have. But the true being does not die. Whether we believe in rebirth or not, this is certain that our true soul is eternal, backwards in time and forwards into the future. The superconscient is timelessness. Okay? The superconscient is, or we can say superconscient is timeless. And the subliminal is the storehouse of all our past experiences. Whatever you have experienced is not, it doesn't disappear. It is there in the intraconscious, this storehouse, this subliminal. Everything is stored. This collective past determines what we are at present and what we shall be in the future. It's the superconscient that is like a storeroom. Okay? In any industry, it's a storeroom that keeps all the materials which the industry needs. So whatever you need is there all stored in your past experiences are not forgotten. They are stored in the subliminal. Of the subliminal and the superconscient, our mind knows nothing at all. Okay? Nothing. The past lives in us and the future is the potential to come out of the present. But this ignorance is limiting and very frustrating. Because if we knew what the future would be, it would be so convenient. But we don't know what the future is. Okay? This is what we call the temporal ignorance. We don't know our past lives. So this is temporal ignorance number 2. One by one, he is listing the ignorances. Okay? So it's 8:37. We have got only 3 minutes. So we can't do it today. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll read this para. Okay? And the para is starting with Shilpa read. We exist superficially. We have to make a note of that and we'll do it tomorrow, line by line. Okay? So,
Yes, I'll make a note.
yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Rangada.
Thank you.
Rangada.
Thank you, Rangada.
Everybody, have a nice day.